Hi there, everyone. Thank you for attending our webinar today. Webinar about Newforma managing project decisions in the AECO. If you can't prove it, it didn't happen. And I've got my colleague here from Newforma, James, which will be able to explain what Newforma is and how it actually uh, benefits our industry. Uh, James, if you can move over to the next slide. So just a bit about us as our speakers. So myself, Aurangzeb Mahmood, I'm one of the directors here at TCS CAD. I've been in industry for over 14 years within the AEC industry, and we specialize in software, BIM implementation, and technical consulting. One of the things what I normally do is we assess client technical training, and I lead the technical support within TCS. So that looks after all pre and post technical sales, any support afterwards, and generally, a majority of the customers uh, they speak to us about any technical concerns what we have. I've got my colleague James here as well. James, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. So my name's James Lawrence. I have 20 years plus experience within the construction industry. I have a passion for bringing kind of calm to complex workflows within the industry as well. Passion primarily is driven around models and information. And for the past 5 years, I've been working in the context space, bringing that industry expertise I've got to, again, facilitate software applications within customers and companies as well to get the best out of the software that they are using.
Perfect, James. Thank you very much for that. So, James, what we're going to do is uh, we tried to get some feedback from our delegates who are attending this webinar, and we had a number of questions what they wanted answering. So we decided to go for four key topics. What we generally saw what all the delegates were asking, and so I've got four key questions what I want to ask you on different topics about Newforma. Then what we'll do is we have a Q&A session at the end. So if there's any other questions what our delegates want answering, we can answer those as well. So the first thing what our delegates were asking about was how does Newforma create a single source of truth across the project?
Okay, no problem at all. So we kind of use a terminology of single view of truth at Newforma. Obviously, single source of truth is an industry standard, but we kind of look at it a little bit differently because what Newforma does is it comes in and effectively integrates into your system. It doesn't replace. So we kind of look at things as being that kind of one-stop view. And this is where we start to get into Newforma Connect's biggest strengths in terms of connecting email, RFIs, drawings, models, submittals, issues, and conversations into that central project area. That means it's a record. So no information is left behind. Information that's usually scattered across Outlook, SharePoint, and BIM tools as well, cloud drives. So as you can see, within Newforma, straight away, we're always met with a dashboard. But up and across the top, we have a search everything function. So straight away, we're able to get really into the weeds of the project by able to search for specific items. So if I go to search everything, for example, we can search across the entire project for keywords or key documents. So if I search across everything and I search for a text string of concrete, what it's going to do is it's not just going to search in one specific area, it's going to search across the entire project. So that could be RFIs, submittals, emails, change management, and issues. If we wanted to get to any of these, all we simply need to do is click, and it takes us directly to that point within the project itself. So pulling up this RFI is going to give us the full transparency of the RFI with all the others listed as well. So we can actually see the status of what this RFI is in. So we can see closed, in review, open. We can also see the workflows which are attached to these as well. We're talking about disconnected systems on a project. So what we'd like to do at Newforma is we like to connect existing ecosystems. Files allows us to connect local servers. It allows us to connect SharePoint, and it also allows us to connect Autodesk Docs. So within your project, you can also connect different systems for that added area of visibility. So within the files, for example, I can jump into a specific area, the architecture, for example, and I can actually now start to see the versions of drawings that we have available. Every time we come into an area, we can click on the open details and we can see the details. We can also see the versions and we can see the full history of who's done what with the file. So whether it's been named, it's been removed, it's been shared, it's been deleted, we'll have that full historical transparency of items on here as well. So we're connecting these multiple platforms, these multiple versions across multiple platforms. If, for example, we wanted to come into a specific area, let's go to SharePoint, for example, and we wanted to search for a specific file, I can search for a specific file type. So this time I'm going to search for a doc, and you can actually see where it's come from. So this time it's come from SharePoint. And now, if we wanted to go into the details, we can see those details, but because we've connected to that ecosystem, we can actually open the file directly from Microsoft and start editing within here as well. So I can just add some notes. I can just add in a webinar, close that down, and that has now been saved. And that will update the history. And as you can see, I've uploaded that file in Microsoft as well. So by adding that transparency, this means that we can work with files connected to a system in Newforma Connect.
Makes sense, makes sense. And I like how you guys branded it as a single view of truth. It makes sense with Newforma as well because everything's connected together with it.
Mm-hmm.
Another question what our customers had, it was more or less on the lines of BIM coordination and issue management. How can this be improved within Newforma?
So this is where we're starting to get into these kind of deep integrated coordination workflows, obviously for BIM managers and BIM users as well. Connect combines not just the 3D model, but it also connects the 2D drawing sheets to view. So we can actually action items by using the 2D and 3D. Okay. This allows us to work with Clash workflows, and we integrate with tools like Revit and Navisworks and a whole other suite of authoring systems as well. So one of the questions that we tend to have is how can we work with a viewer and actually assign issues directly within models? So if I go to the viewer portion of Newforma Connect, this allows us to build out our models that we're going to be working with on a day-to-day basis. So these models have actually been uploaded via the files section of Newforma. So we know that these are the latest working files on the job. So if we go into a drop down and just turn on an architecture model, this allows us to go in and actually start looking at this architecture model. And as you can see, this model is now at version 2. So again, if we go into view the details and versions, we can actually go back in time and look at different versions of models. So we're not just looking at the latest one, we can go through the historical and we can actually start to see changes. Because I may have had a conversation with the architect that we actually need an opening on this roof for penetration of services. If this was in the first model and it's not in the second model, we can actually start go through back in time to look at these items. Now, because these models have come directly from Revit, we can actually have the Newforma Connect add-on directly to the side. So we can publish these models from Revit with the sheets, but we also have the issues that have been pulled through as well. So say, for example, we wanted to get to a specific area in this clash group, we can simply view in the model. And what Newforma Connect does, it takes us to this direct area, and we can actually start to address the clashes directly in the authoring system as it stands. So if I was to go back into Newforma Connect, for example, I wanted to overlay a 2D sheet onto here. So we go into the arc. Let's have a look at the roof, for example. This is going to take that 2D sheet and overlay it on top of the 3D model. So this, we can further validate any questions that we have with the architect team. So we're looking at this area here. So I know on this sheet on version 2 that we do not have this opening available. So what I can do from this point on is that I can actually now go in and create an issue by simply creating an issue, placing the point on. Then we can actually start to mark up this item as well. So I can just draw an item in here. I can add some text if I so require as well. So come in and I'm just going to say opening for MEP services required. And put in. But now we want to go into the actual metadata of the issue to start adding that context in. So I'm going to say opening for MEP. The status is open. Then we add a description, which is again further adding that context. So I'm going to say 750 by 750 opening required. And then we can assign it to a specific person. So I'm going to assign this to my colleague, James Cook, who's in charge of the architectural facades. We can also bring in a team. So I'm going to bring in the architect. I'm also going to bring in the MEP engineer, and I'm also going to bring in the structural engineer as well, because we may need to bring the structural engineer into this conversation. The priority for this, we're going to set as medium because it's not critical at this point. This is just the conversation that we're opening and the type of issue that we're having as well. So we can build this out as we start going through the project. Once you start your Newforma project, you get an out-of-the-box solution, but we can build this that acts as a template moving through. So for this, for example, I can go to any type, but because I've built this out with specific types, I want this to be a builder's work opening. So this time, the discipline, we're filling out all this information. The building area is going to be on the roof. And then we can fill out further information if we want. But we can also start attaching information to this as well. So if I go to my browse, I can now add in building regs for this builder's work hole, which allows the architect to now have that documentation to go through and resolve this issue. So we've now published this issue directly to Newforma Connect. Now, what I can do is, as the Revit engineer, I can just simply refresh my issues, and straight away we see that this issue has come through. So the Revit engineer can be anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where they are. They could be a team the other side of the world, if you so require, if you have different offices, but we're still using that central view of information, that single view of truth. So if we want to look at this opening, we can view that in the model. It takes us directly to that area. So the architectural engineer knows exactly what they're looking at. They know they need to put this opening in this area. So by having that bi-directional aspect of looking at issues, we don't have to switch between models, export these issues, reload them in. Newforma connects all this information into one platform seamlessly.
It makes sense. I mean, it still solidifies the statement of single view of truth. I mean, at least all coordination issues, everything is managed through Newforma. It gets pushed out to the offering systems, so everybody has the latest issue management and coordination is what they need to do as well.
Exactly. And just on that point, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We can actually go to the issues as well. So the issues don't have to just be for a BIM model. I think we need to reframe the narrative around this. The issues don't just have to be assigned to a BIM model. It can be a project issue as well. But
Okay.
one of the best things for me is that within here, we have clash sets. So these clashes have actually been published individually, but we can merge them into one clash if we want, merge them into one set, and it's now merged all those clashes into one area as well. So there's a lot that we can actually do with those clashes after the fact.
So the customer can actually use this as a project information management tool as well, so they can manage everything what goes on through the project. It doesn't need to just be BIM coordination.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Another question, I think from our delegates, what they've seen through the marketing materials and so forth out there is, how does Newforma manage emails and communications?
Absolutely. So emails is where most project decisions happen. And that
Exactly.
email is effectively your own siloed work of area of information where you work and you communicate. And as I say silo, it means that that's your inbox. And what Newforma wants to do is we want to open up that inbox to the project itself, because within your inbox, you're going to have critical information. There will be conversations that you don't even give a second thought to that may have one sentence in there that could be critical to either giving decisions on a project or having that historical transparency as well. So we want to bring emails into structured email management through Outlook integration and searchable filing as well. So as you can see, we have the emails now which have been listed on the project, of which we have 405. And these have all been emailed, and these have been connected by various different people on the project. Myself, different people, different roles, different areas of communication. But what we effectively want to do with the emails is, again, stop working in that silo, because there may be an engineer who goes on holiday for 2 weeks. And if they haven't published project emails, they may have that critical information and we're 2 weeks behind. A worst case scenario could be somebody leaves the business entirely. Now, I've worked with very kind of keen IT systems who, once somebody leaves a company, they delete their account. You have lost years of project information and it's gone in an instant. So what we want to do with the Newforma Connect is we want to have you to be able to file specific emails to the project. So I have one email here, webinar information. Within here, we have text and we have attachments as well. So by adding the Newforma Connect add-in, This is rolled out by your IT. So this will be rolled out and it will be available on your Outlook add-in, whether it's legacy or new as well. It will always recognize the last project that you accessed. So here you can see we're working with the car dealer project. Now, because we've connected to the project email ecosystem, we can already see all the projects which have been applied. So we can actually start to, kind of jump into some conversations if we so require. Because again, these are project emails. These aren't in your inbox, which are just sat there not doing anything. So if I wanted to reply to this email here, I can simply click, it will open that email and it will allow me to reply using the project email address. But we want to get this project email in. So to do that, all we simply do is click on File Email. So what it's going to do is it's going to take that email, it's going to take the email address, it's going to take the attachments and the text, and it's going to file that email to the car dealer project. And one of the best things about this is that once it's done, it's going to give the email a tag. So as you can see here, it's given this car dealer email a tag. We can click on this and effectively use it as a filter. So you can see here, we have 7 emails which have been assigned to this project. Now that doesn't seem enough. As you can see in my inbox, I have 169 emails. There should be more within my project email that I can add to the project for clarity. So to do this, we can actually use Newforma's smart filing capabilities. And what this does is, this is our first kind of journey into AI. It's not complex, it's not overcomplicated, it's just a simple email inbox scanning feature. So as you can see, it's found 2 emails within my inbox that the smart filing fields should be added. Now, as you can see, it's allowing me to review them before I file them. And these are just alerts from the project. But what the smart filing does is it searches for keywords. So it may search for car or dealer. It may search for a project number. And this allows you to file those emails. So the smart filing can work by doing it at the end of a day, end of a week, end of a month, just to pick up those items that you may have already forgotten. If we just jump back into the platform itself, as you can see, that email has now come through. So everybody on the project has transparency for that email. We can open it up. We can look at the details, which gives whom it was sent to, the actual context of the email. We also have the attachments that we can download individually. So if we wanted to put those attachments into a file system, we can put those in as well. But for me, this related items, it's a bit of an unsung hero within Newforma Connect, because what we can actually do is that we can jump back into the project ecosystem and link items to this email. So if I go into link items, for example, I can search for, again, a keyword. So I'm going to just use the concrete example again. We're going to search across the project ecosystem. We're finding for that title of concrete, and we saw this before, but this time I'm going to go down to issues. And I'm going to now link this concrete procurement issue to this email. And we can do as many as we want. If you can add context and weight behind this email conversation by linking existing items into it as well, it's just going to help get this resolved. And there we have that transparency to get this information through. And it's not only just emails that we're linking as well. We can go into channels and we can actually link specific Teams folders in here as well. Now, the Teams isn't bi-directional. This is just effectively a snapshot of your Teams conversations. But an example for this could be is that if we scroll through, as you can see within here, Carl had a conversation roughly this time last year about revised drawings for construction. This has been acknowledged. So if Carl, for example, had a dispute that these drawings weren't acknowledged or downloaded, we can go back through our historical Teams channels and say, well, actually, Brian's given this a thumbs up, or a muscle, if you will. So he's actually acknowledged this now. So his accountability has been logged in the Teams channel by simply connecting it. He's basically given this a thumbs up. So now he's accountable for not reviewing this drawing package that Carl sent through this time last year.
It makes sense. It makes sense. And I think we all know how Outlook is as default when it comes to the searchable features and so forth. Sometimes it's very easy to search. Sometimes it gets really tiresome to search for a particular attachment and so forth. So it shows the granular approach what Newforma has on its search capabilities and the ability to filter as much as possible to find the particular email. We do have another topic what our attendees mentioned was how can Newforma reduce project risk, delays, and rework?
Okay.
You can provide an example on that as well, James.
Yeah, no problem. So what we're kind of going into now with this is that we're framing the platform around measurable business outcomes rather than just features at the end of the day. We can talk features and features and features, but at the end of the day, we want to see the metrics from this. Who has gone through these clash issues and actually gone through, looked at them, and put it into a specific status? So the clashes could have gone from open to in progress. So I know that those clashes are moving along. The same with RFIs. Are we going through a workflow, an official submitter workflow to get this reviewed, forwarded on for further information? Newforma positions Connect as improving visibility, accountability, response times, and coordination efficiency. So what kind of KPIs can be tracked? So as we showed across the top, we have a dashboard that opens up every time we come into the project. We can go across a date range. So what this effectively does is this will pick your date range. We can filter by everything. We can go by issues, models, sheets, project users, all this kind of like juicy information that we have, and put it into a day-to-day dashboard. And as you can see here, I currently have 2 issues. One is on time, one is overdue, but the project as it stands, not in the best place, because out of all the issues we have 22 that are on time, but 375 which are outstanding. So this is a good snapshot of information that we can have as a start. We can also start to generate reports from issues as well. So if we jump into our issues, for example, as you can see on the project now, we have a whole lot of issues, 416 in fact. And this is a different mix of types, builders work, clashes, email follow-ups, issues, action items. It can be a little bit overwhelming. So what is it that we actually want to create a report of? So I'm going to use this BIM modeling information that we've talked about previously, and that is what we're going to use to generate a report. An example that I always had was when I worked on projects, I was working on London City Airport. We were dealing with 50 models on a weekly basis that we had to run clashes on. The clash report was its own beast. It became unmanageable because it was going from 60 to 70 to 80 to 90. Worst case we had was 500 clashes in a report on a weekly basis. That is nigh impossible to track. Wow. So we want to focus the clashes into a specific report. So by using the quick filters we can come through, we can go into type. So I actually just want to filter through the clashes. I want to go to the priority of high and click apply. Now this just drills it down to 8. That's pretty reasonable. We know that we can get these resolved in a timely manner. So all we need to do from this point on is simply click on print report. And what this is going to do for us is it's going to go into our report settings. So by using the quick filters, it's already filled out the report settings for us. But if we wanted to just further elaborate on this, we could say, actually, we don't want to have a priority of high. We just want the priority turned off. But we still want to keep with the clashes. If we wanted to filter it down further and say, actually, we just want the clashes on level 1 because that's the area of the build that we're working on, we can also use this as a filter. So this area effectively acts as your gateway of information, where you generate a report and really go down into that finite details. Because roof and level 4 don't add any context to the conversation that I'm working on. But for the purpose of this, we're going to leave it open and we're just going to generate a report of the clashes. And all we need to do is click on print and it's going to generate that report for us. So I'll just turn this off and we can just see what the report looks like. So it's always going to give us the total project issues, but the total printed issues that we have is 41. And then we can scroll down, we have dashboards. So we can see who has the most. So as it stands, Asiat is kind of leading the way with 7. We have 13 that are low. But once we start scrolling down even further, this is where we get into the real crux of what it is that we're talking about. So as you can see within here, we have different changes. Some may be visual issues, some may be clashes. But again, the best thing about this as well is if we wanted to get to this clash or issue within the platform, let's just scroll down here. We can come into this item here, open up, and it's automatically going to take us there as well. So there's no needing to having to go back, open up a clash report, then go back into Newforma or your model, start searching for these issues, trying to find out where these issues lie. So within here, for example, we can come back in and I can just add a question. Why isn't this? We're at V2 of the model. And I can now post this in. And we can start adding information to this as well. We get asked a lot in terms of connecting with items like Power BI. A lot of people like to take Newforma information and put it into more project-based deliverables. So this isn't just working with Newforma information. This may be other platforms as well. ACC, Navisworks, Revit, Procore, Celebri, all these different tools that we're working with. And again, we want to integrate. We want to get this information out and put it into a platform which is usable for different people, project managers, even the clients, if this is the information that we wanted to work with. So I'm not going to jump into Power BI, but what I do actually have here is just a few examples of what it actually looks like of getting that Power BI information in and creating dashboards. So we have a Newforma Connect project dashboard here. We have the different projects and different statuses that they're in, how many active issues we have in there, how many overdue issues we have in here as well. Then that's been drilled down into specific user issues. We have more here for kind of deliverables in terms of days to resolve. And again, people really love looking at charts. Not necessarily my wheelhouse, to be honest, but people really like looking at it. But, you know, this gives, again, that transparency of putting it in there, which, again, gives those measurable KPIs in a dashboard. So if the project's overrunning or we're having problems, the client can go in, they can look at the structure issues per discipline and say, well, the structures are really struggling here. The structural team are struggling as well. So this allows to open up a conversation further by saying, how do we have this conversation with the structural team and get these issues resolved? It, again, gives that project transparency and it improves those response times as well. One thing that we quickly didn't touch on, just while we've got a couple of minutes, is how we kind of create and manage submittals and RFIs as well. So within the RFI portion, this is where you will actually start to create your RFIs and put them through a specific RFI workflow. So as you can see within here, we have a variety which have been closed, in review, open, reviewed. So we can log an RFI. We can give a subject, call it webinar. We can auto number. So again, this is built out with your project as you go through. You can build in your specific numbering systems. We can also build out specification sections as well. So we can scroll through a list here. I'm going to add a list of drawing sheets, due dates, what type it is. We're going into design, sender numbers you can fill in as well. I'm going to send this from Aaron to myself, and I'm just going to update it. TIDP required. And I'm just saying issue needed ASAP. Does it impact the schedule? Yes, it does. Does it have a cost impact? I'm going to put maybe. The reasons for this is that we want to actually request for design documents changes. The disciplines for this is going to be the MEP because they're the one holding it up. Keywords. But now actually what I want to do is I want to go into my files. I can go into specific files and pick items from here as well. So there we have a CSV of those drawings automatically available. So we can add that in for it to be updated. And then all we simply do is need to log this RFI. Once the RFI has been logged, it will give us a number. It will field all the metadata that we've just published in as well. And again, it will allow us to go through a specific workflow. So this is currently open. And the workflow as it stands is it's going to Aaron. He sent it to myself to review. We have the attachments. Remember, we can also do the related items. But let's say, for example, again, I'm about to go on leave tomorrow for 2 weeks. What I can actually do with this is I can actually forward this out to somebody else or forward this on to somebody else to review. From here on, I can forward this on to somebody else. I'm going to forward this on to Andy Weston. The remarks, I'm going to say, on leave, please, can you review the document and forward that on? That then goes through and changes the status of the RFI because we forwarded that on for review, but that's still now open because Andrew needs to come in now and review his information as well. So there's a lot that we can do in terms of those KPIs by going through RFIs and submittals as well.
It makes sense. It makes sense. And it shows the whole workflow between RFIs and the dashboards as well. I mean, one thing I've noticed as well is sometimes you can get overloaded with data. So creating those kind of customized dashboards, it helps out a lot as well.
It really
and
is.
You have a single RFI system where you can submit a request to about the project. assign it to whoever needs to be assigned to. It makes sense as well. And like you've shown there as well, you can even export it out as well.
Yeah,
It makes
absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, showing that. We just want to open the panel over to our attendees if there's any Q&A or if there's any questions you wish for us to answer. I can see we have one question listed here as well. It's more or less about user permissions.
Okay.
He's mentioned that not all information needs to be shared out to the whole team. They want to limit information to certain team members. If you could show us how user permissions is controlled.
Sure, no problem. So that's down at teams and users.
Okay.
So again, you do have full control over it is that what information that you're sharing. So once you add a user, they come with specific roles. So we have 4 out of the box roles. So an admin is obviously going to be overseeing everything. So you don't want too many admins on a job here. As you can see, we have a lot of admins. This is obviously a demo space. So a lot of people are admins, so they can go through and do things as well. But as you can see, Adam here is just a reader. So Adam can come in, he can look at information, he can't do anything with it. I could change him to editor, which means that he can go in, he can add items, link information together. A reviewer is only somebody that can come in and just review items. So those RFIs, those submittals, and those issues. But down at the bottom here, what we can actually do is we can build out our own specific roles. So you can see I built one here for a contractor. That contractor, again, only has access to specific areas that we want them to have access to. So we may not want a contractor to have access to issues. They don't need that. We can then limit it on this area as well. But again, in terms of information, if we want to get information shared out to somebody within Newforma Connect, if I go into my files, for example, you get to pick and choose whom you send it to. So if I go into my drawings, for example, plans, we'll do structures this time. I can pick this information. I can share it directly within Newforma Connect. And again, we can give it a title for this package. I can share it with specific people. So I'm going to share it with Carl, Gilliam, Eric, and we'll do Kelly. And for here, I'm just going to say drawings for review. Oops. And what this now does is we can actually create sharing links of information via Newforma for specific people. And if we now go to the sharing center, for example, this will give us, again, that full transparency over what's been shared on a project and where it's been shared from. So document control would be official drawings or information on the job. That could go to a specific team. Files, for example, may just be an information sharing. So this reduces the need to go in and use WeTransfer, Dropbox, all these kind of tools as well. I just want this one to come through. There we go. So that webinar zip has come through. So again, we can look at whose information has been sent to. We can also see the history as well. So once Carl, Gilliam, Eric, or Kelly download this, we can see that transparency of who's done what. So again, you can limit who has access to specific information by going into project teams and users. And we can also share information with specific people as well. So it's all about giving that access level, permissions, and sharing that specific information.
And everything's listed within that share center as well. So wherever you've shared, wherever you haven't shared, everything's been audited. You'll be able to see who's downloaded it, who hasn't downloaded it yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It gives that further transparency on a project. Because if Kelly, for example, was coming to me saying, James, where's that package of drawings? I can come in and say, well, I sent it on the 17th of June. You haven't looked at it. So Kelly needs to go in and do her due diligence. I'm guessing her alerts up here may be more than 3, but it seems to me that Kelly's not pulling a weight. So again, that could be managed by looking at the KPIs, the issues, and then going through into the sharing center and double checking what it is that people have or haven't downloaded.
Makes sense. Thanks for explaining that, James. We do have a few more questions on there, but I think we're coming to the end of our webinar. So my team will be able to have a look at those Q&As, what you guys have posted, and we'll get back to you on email as well. That's not an issue. And my team will also follow up as well if you guys need any customized demos. My colleague James here as well, he'll be able to help you as well. And the other members of the Newforma team should help as well. I just want to thank James for that very interesting Newforma intro and how useful it is. I mean, it's certainly looking one of the best PIM tools I've seen in the industry at the moment. And I just want to congratulate you guys and thank you for hosting this webinar for us.
No, thank you very much. And the structured questions as well were great because, as you can see, there's a lot of projects behind Newforma Connect, and there's a lot of different avenues we can go down as well. So having those kind of 4 topics to concentrate on really just kind of helps get that, you know, key message out there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, James. And my team will follow up with the remaining questions. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.